Ling Feng traveled day and night and caught up with the convoy. Shan completed his mission and bid farewell with a cupped fist.
Master Ling, take care.
Safe journey, brothers.
The four riders vanished in a cloud of dust. Ling Feng watched their figures disappear into the distance and suddenly felt that he was truly alone. Governor General Qin Gongming assigned him the usual role of deputy escort, simply following the convoy, riding in a carriage, spared from wind and sun. An easy job. One evening after supper, Ling Feng stepped out of the camp for some fresh air. Near a patch of bushes, he heard a cricket chirping. The sound was familiar. He followed it involuntarily, walking farther and farther until he found himself deep in the wilderness. He knew that if he didn't turn back soon, he would violate military rules. But he couldn't give up, the sound was right ahead. He chased it for a long time, until finally he lost it. A bright moon hung in the sky, but the dense canopy of the jungle let through only scattered patches of pale light. He felt a little afraid, yet unwilling to accept defeat. He shouted,
"Chonner, where are you?"
Suddenly he saw flickering lights in the distance. He hid in the shadows of the trees and crept closer. More and more lights appeared. Then 2 points of light rushed straight at him, the eyes of a large beast. By the time he saw it was a wolf, it was too late to dodge. The wolf pounced and knocked him down. His sword was still at his waist. The other lights closed in, a pack of wolves. Their eyes glowed with a cold, mocking light. He knew he was done for. Ling Feng noticed a gate of light beside him, a bright ring cast by the moonlight through the trees. In desperation, he rolled into it. Inside the circle, the wolves gathered 10 feet away but did not attack. Instead, they slowly backed off. In the darkness, their bodies were almost invisible, their eyes floating like ghost fires. Suddenly the pack raised their heads and howled. The howls were high-pitched and long, rising and falling. Lying in the circle of light, Ling Feng felt a wave of drowsiness and fell into a deep sleep. In his dream, blue-green flames blazed up around his body. At first they were not hot, but gradually the flames grew hotter and hotter, burning his entire body to ashes. A wisp of green smoke drifted out through the gate of light. When he opened his eyes, it was a bright morning. He scrambled to his feet, completely unharmed, his bundle still beside him. What had happened the night before? Why hadn't the wolves attacked? He remembered an old servant who had once been a farmer telling him that wolves worshipped the moon god. On full moon nights, they would stand on high ridges and howl prayers to the moon. Could it be that he had rolled into the moonlight, and that was why the wolves had spared him? Just then he heard the chirping again. He followed the sound and found a large cricket in the grass, just like Chonner.
Chonner, is that you?
The cricket turned its golden red eyes toward him and leaped onto his arm. It was indeed Chonner. Ling Feng laughed with joy.
How did you get here? Did you come looking for me? Couldn't Lu Shun find you?
Chonner did not answer. Ling Feng chattered on about his experiences and thoughts over the past days, while Chonner lay quietly on his arm as if listening.
Come on, let's go to the frontier together.
From then on, Ling Feng talked to Chonner every day. Everyone else thought he was insane, talking to himself and laughing out loud, but Ling Feng did not care. One evening after supper, he took Chonner for a walk outside the camp. The moonlight was like water. Chonner crawled out from under his hairpin and perched on his shoulder. Ling Feng told the story of the wolf attack, how, in that moment of crisis, the moonlight had poured down and saved him. As he spoke, he lay down on the grass, hands behind his head, bathed in moonlight. Chonar hopped about freely beside him. Before long, the moon began to change. Beams of blinding white light shot down straight into Ling Feng's body. His limbs naturally spread into a great shape. Under the impact of the white light, blue flames blazed all over him. At first there was no heat, but gradually the flames grew warm. The temperature rose little by little. The hottest point was his abdomen, where a current of air surged and washed through his body, from his abdomen to his crown, down to his feet, then back to his abdomen. The cycle repeated. His body felt wonderfully light and at ease. He fell into a deep sleep. When he woke, he felt light and strong, filled with boundless power. From that night on, whenever the moon was out, he stayed under it with Chonar. On moonless nights, he went indoors. But as soon as he fell asleep, light would rise from within his body. Chonar would chirp urgently, waking him, and the light would vanish. Chonar was afraid that others would see, but could not tell Ling Feng. Fortunately, the other guards were exhausted, and no one discovered his secret. Days passed. Ling Feng began to notice changes in himself. First, he could climb trees with ease. A few days later, he could grasp a branch and swing to the top of another tree, as nimble as a monkey. He often took Chonar to the treetops to watch the moon, feeling a freedom he had never known. He developed a reverence for the moon. He formed the habit of kneeling and bowing to the moon before receiving its gift to his body. He felt that the wolves probably shared the same emotion. As the convoy neared the frontier, they had to camp in the wild for the first time. It was the first day of the lunar month, a moonless night. Ling Feng went to bed early. In the middle of the night, a stable hand went behind the camp to relieve himself. Passing by Ling Feng, he saw a faint yellow glow emanating from his body, slowly moving. He screamed in terror.
Ghost!
Everyone woke up. Ling Feng woke too, and the glow immediately disappeared. The stable hand insisted that Ling Feng had been glowing, but no one believed him. They accused him of seeing ghosts. Ling Feng, however, grew curious. He questioned the stable hand carefully, what the light had looked like, whether it moved, whether it came out from under the blanket. The stable hand, unaccustomed to being believed, answered everything. The others, seeing Ling Feng join in the fuss, shook their heads, covered their ears, and went back to sleep. As the stable hand returned from his business, Ling Feng called out again.
Brother, how big was the light?
About the size of a face basin.
Was it round or some other shape?
Shut up and sleep.
The guards who had just dozed off jumped up and shooed them away.
He began to think of leaving the secular world to live in seclusion.
I won't take any servants, maids, or concubines, just Chonar.
He built his dream home in his mind and often spoke of it to Chonar, who remained a silent listener. Every night after that, he secretly snuck out with Chonar to sleep away from the camp. The convoy finally reached the frontier. Crown Prince Lu was stationed at the northern foothills, 100 miles from the pass. Governor General Qing Gongming continued to lead the team northward. Crown Prince Lu had worked with Marshal Lu Dinghua, the defending general, for some time and found Lu to be cautious and conservative, unwilling to take the initiative. Although the Crown Prince held a higher status, his position was vice marshal, and Lu Dinghua became even more constrained. The prince therefore petitioned the emperor for permission to take his original troops and establish a separate camp at the northern foothills, forming a pincer formation with Lu Dinghua and awaiting the spring thaw to reclaim lost territory. After the crown prince left, Lu Dinghua became much more flexible. He recruited soldiers and horses according to his old ways, and relations between the army and the civilian population were harmonious. The main enemies of the frontier garrison were the tribes of Air Erluan Khan, the Kaki and the Mongols. That day, A scout reported that a Han army supply convoy was transporting goods to the Crown Prince's camp at the northern foothills. Heir Erluin Khan, known as the starving wolf of the grasslands, would send his men to plunder any goods, official or commercial, that passed under his nose. He decided to lead the raid himself. Although the Crown Prince had already received the news and dispatched reinforcements, Qin Gongming's convoy would soon face a brutal battle. It would also be the first battle of Ling Feng's life.